Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 14 of the Retro Rumble podcast. I'm your host for this episode, David White, and today's episode is I'm particularly excited about because it's going to be dedicated to one of my favorite hidden gem RPGs. I'd say the Golden Sun series. Now, this first episode will be, or this part of this episode will be about dedicated to the first entry in the series, released for the Game Boy Advance back in 2002, I believe it was. And I'm joined by returning guests, Anthony and Chelsea. How are you doing, guys?
Good. I'm doing well, thank you.
And I'll go. So it's quite an interesting dynamic we have here because Anthony is a bit of a Golden Sun noob.
Yep.
And has only sunk about 4 or 5 hours into Golden Sun, I guess.
Probably around 10, I'd say. Now.
Oh, that's a testament to how good it is, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
just dove in.
Dove in, and I've kind of been addicted to it since. So it's like
it's such a. It's a Moorish. I call it a Moorish RPG because it's a wonderful world to explore. It's visually wonderful, and it's got a great soundtrack. It's got a fairly cliche story, not too special, but it's interesting enough to keep you going.
Yeah.
Different worlds, really cool characters, beautiful animation. I love the animation. We've got Chelsea here, and Chelsea is more or less the. Well, no, I was going to say more or less, but no, Chelsea is the expert here. Because I have only played the first game of the series, and I've played that.
All three.
Yeah, so it's a series that's deserving of another entry. I think it's primarily a handheld series. Well, no, it is a handheld series. First game's on the GBA, second game's on the GBA, basically a follow-up to the first one, and Dark Dawn, the third entry, the second being Lost Age.
DS.
Yeah, that will be a game that we will look at in the future. The second game, Lost Age, and Dark Dawn, we'll look at in parts 2 and 3 of these episodes of the show. So that will be interesting because Lost Age will be new to me. It'll be new to Ant, but Chelsea will be the expert on that one. So I'm very interested to see how Dark Dawn looks, really, because we're talking about a completely different handheld, more or less. So I'm looking forward to trying that. And you know what? I'm a bit of a I don't know if the right word is a purist, but I think it is. So I'm going to have a bit of fun now. I'm going to actually try and track down a copy of both. And
good luck.
So it'll be interesting to see if I can come to our next episode. I refuse to emulate. I refuse to emulate. If there's no option, and I have to emulate, like some games obviously are really hard to come by. Like if we were doing a show about Earthbound, for example, it's particularly hard to come by and very expensive as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on the hunt and try and track down both copies and play them through, or at least Lost Age for the next episode anyway. So that should be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, emulation is kind of a dirty term at the moment because of what Nintendo's kind of done to it, and you can get in trouble for it. So yeah. Nintendo, emulation isn't going to go. We could do we could do a whole episode about emulation and the pros and cons and the good and bad and whether it's okay. I personally think it's okay because I believe it helps preserve games and keeps them going. Because obviously, being a collector, I know that some of these consoles eventually, I mean the GBA and the DS, will eventually become hard to come by.
And very expensive. Like, they're cheap now, or well, the DS is cheap, the Game Boy not so much. But they're cheap now, but what about like 10 years in the future, they'll be really expensive.
Yeah, they'll be like a Nintendo 64 kind of thing.
The DS doesn't seem to be fluctuating all that much. Pretty much because it's still, it's not a new console, but it's
still pretty
relatively
common.
new. Yeah, and it's immensely common. I mean, it was the console that kind of stopped Nintendo from circling the drain, really. After the kind of like the bomb that was the I was going to say the Wii, but it was more the Wii U that was the bomb, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Wii was quite popular, but the DS was the console that really kept them head and shoulders above water. But the GBA SP is gradually increasing in price because of the some of the special editions as well, like some of the Pokemon special edition versions. The Legend of Zelda one is beautiful gold. One is quite hard to come by. And of course, there was 2 versions. There was the original sort of flat, basic version, and there was the SP. And the SP is one of my favorite it might be my favorite handheld of all time, because it's such a perfect little machine.
My sister and her partner actually have a Game Boy SP.
I've got an Advance.
Yeah, you've got the purple one, I assume. Is it the probably one of the translucent purple ones? I bet they were quite common.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, Anthony.
No, I've actually got one of the red ones. Well, my brother actually
cool.
has. I've actually got it off my brother. I had a blue one. My other brother had a silver one. But as far as the whole DS and everything's concerned, the DS to me kind of breached the gap, and it was kind of the everyman's console or handheld, I suppose. It was coming into. It wasn't really like a unique thing that not many people picked up. So that's probably why the DS isn't really that.
Of course, DS was backwards compatible as well. So
yeah, exactly.
So, or at least one version was anyway. I believe it was the DS Lite.
Yeah, the DS Lite.
Yep.
It was the backwards compatible, which is nice. Guys, what have you been up to this week? Been doing much? Been playing much? I know, obviously, Anthony, you've been playing Golden Sun.
Yep.
But
going for it.
Been up to much else?
I've just been playing Fallout 76, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going all right. We killed some really strong things today, so it was great. Great times. Cool. We almost died several times.
It's had a few dodgy reviews, which is a bit sad to see.
Yeah, it's fair enough though.
Yeah. That series strikes me as a series. Not that I've played. Well, I haven't played it. I've played a little bit of Fallout 3, I think, and I just remember annoying a Deathclaw. And it chased me down and killed me, and that was my experience with it.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
but it's it was my friend's console, and I just sort of dove in and had a go, and I just walked up to this giant red-looking scorpion thing, and thought, I'll shoot that. It looks dangerous, so I best kill it.
And that's how you died.
And that's how I died, because I greatly underestimated how dangerous it was.
Yeah.
Because my initial thought was like, oh, common enemy, let's take it down. But no, I don't know if they are common or what. But cool game. I was very, very intrigued.
Yeah.
But I just don't own a PS3 or a PS4 if it is backwards compatible. So
it's not backwards compatible. You'd have to get an Xbox One.
Okay, well, I'm a PS guy anyway. So I just like PlayStation overall. Something about the 360 and the Xbox Ones. I don't know what it is. I just feel like I would rather have on my shelf a PS4. I just think it just generally is a better looking machine in my opinion.
It's got a lot more on it as well, to be honest.
I more or less grew up with the PlayStation pretty much. So that was the console I've arguably spent the most time on. So I'm always going to go PlayStation. Yeah. So Anthony, what about yourself? What have you been up to? Much?
I've been playing some Golden Sun, as you said earlier. I splurged and bought myself a Switch, which I'm quite keen for. It should be coming Thursday.
Eagerly awaiting that, right?
Yeah, like every 2 hours I'm posting an update in the chat, and I'm like, I can't wait for it.
Sitting at your front door like a dog waiting for his master to come home.
Exactly, precisely. So I got Zelda with that. So it's supposed to be coming in the same package as well, but they very intelligently sent it separately, and the tracking number for it doesn't work, so I'm hoping that they haven't stuffed that up and it won't come. But yeah, I've just been mainly playing Golden Sun the past couple of days, and I've also kind of jumped back onto my Wii, which is emulated, I'll say, or modded. It's got got some GameCube stuff on it and whatnot. So I've been playing some Mario Kart on that, funnily enough. And been killing some people, so yay. And yeah, that's about it from me, really.
Okay. I've not been doing much. I dove back into one of my favourite games of all time, just for I've been thinking about doing a series recently, and I haven't run this by you, by the way, Anthony, because I was just thinking about it, and possibly a video series. This might be my first video series or stream series, I don't know, but it's just an idea. But my first game that I'll play in doing it is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and basically what I want to call it is 100%ing. Basically that's what I'll be doing is I'll be looking to 100% games, and my definition of 100% is to play perfectly. So in the case of Grand Theft Auto, obviously that's a crazy game to 100% because you've got to find all the hidden packages and all that stuff and all the jumps and all the cars. I believe it changes per game. And then like games like I don't know, maybe like Splinter Cell or something like that, where I 100% each level, so I don't get seen. I play right the way through in one sitting. So that's basically the challenge, except for Grand Theft Auto, obviously, because that's going to take me a little bit longer. But,
50 hours. You'll be dead by then.
Yeah, probably. Obviously, I'll have to have some sort of map or something like that to help me out, but it'd be fun. But so I thought I'd dive back into that because it's been a while, so that was fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's a game you can really sink a few hours into.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, well, on the subject, I'm just curious. I've only dabbled in Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5. Would you consider San Andreas still to be the pinnacle of the series, the peak of the series? Because most people generally do, I find. Or is it surpassed by maybe 5?
I never really got into GTA, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more like due to my upbringing, I was never really allowed to play that kind of stuff. So I've mainly sunk hours more so into 4 and 5, so I haven't really played 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Chelsea, what about you?
I've never played a Grand Theft Auto game in my life.
No way.
Oh. Okay.
Wow. I'm genuinely shocked by this.
I actually grew up on a lot of Nintendo, so...
Same.
Yeah, so I didn't actually have many consoles. I think we had a really old PC that we only really played Diablo on. And that was about it. I've only owned Nintendo consoles.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, that genuinely shocks me because Grand Theft Auto strikes me as one of those series that, like Doom, for example, that everyone's dabbled in some ways. So Grand Theft Auto is an especially a very particular example of a game that probably right up the top number one, probably in terms of games that almost everyone has played. Almost one entry in the series. Yeah, exactly. So if you like your open world, if you like Fallout, which is obviously an open world game, Grand Theft Auto is awesome. Just go for it.
I might have to look into getting it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be forgiven for skipping the beginning of the series back in the 2D top-down era. It's still good games, but when the 3D happened, I remember when I first played Grand Theft Auto 3. I remember thinking to myself, "This is what I've always wanted Grand Theft Auto to be," and now it's possible thanks to this amazing hardware we have nowadays. We're talking back in the PS2 era now. Jump on maybe. I would say jump into Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. If you can, or 4 or 5. I've not played them myself, but San Andreas is awesome. Right, guys. So let's plug on. Plug on.
I don't know.
Yeah, well. Anthony, how's the news been? Actually, I should say before we continue, listeners, we're experimenting with a new. Structure to the show, a bit more of a segmented approach. So this is our first attempt at getting back into it. Our first couple of episodes, we attempted a bit of a structure like this, so we're going back into it and giving it another shot. So we're going to dive into news for our first segment. So Anthony, what's happening?
We got a couple of interesting stories that have been making the rounds. Some of them are a bit old, but I thought I'd bring them up anyway. We all know awesome eBayers who try and charge as much as possible for a product, and some people are stupid enough to buy said product. And
absolutely stupid.
Said product this week is the PlayStation Classic, which is coming out on the 3rd of December, I believe. December 3, that's the one. There we go. So, and basically what sellers are doing is they're putting up pre-order posts on eBay, and basically you can pre-order a PlayStation Classic for $1,000. And this is USD.
Oh.
So for myself, that would be about, not that I'm considering it obviously, but that would be about 600 quid. That's absurd. And the thing is, people will do it, even if it means because I do you really think there's going to be a huge rush to the point where there will be a shortage? Because there was a bit of a shortage with the SNES Mini or the NES Mini, well both I believe, back when that came out I think, and then Nintendo were kind of blamed for it I believe, that there was not enough provided to retailers, I understand, from what I can recall at least. So do you really think that's going to happen? There's going to be like this major shortage, so people will be so desperate to get what is essentially I'm going to say it again, it's basically a Raspberry Pi.
No, I don't believe it will be. Simply because of the lineup that they have for the console. And also, it doesn't really have that much hype as what the NES and the SNES had. Like, everybody, as soon as they heard about it, oh yeah, we're getting one of these, meaning the NES. Like, everybody was jumping all over it and everybody was keen for it, yet this is kind of a bit lackluster, I must say. Bear in mind, the retail price for the PlayStation Classic is going to be $300, and by the way, this is actually Australian. I got the sites mixed up.
Oh, okay.
So it's $300 Australian. It's going to be at retail, but people are charging $1,000 to pre-order them. So cool.
Why?
Because they want money. Come on, money's awesome.
I actually dislike the buyer more than the seller. I kind of get the seller a little bit. They're opportunistic, trying to make a good chunk of money, and I can totally get that. We all do that sometimes, I guess. Like even with my collection, sometimes, even when I'm feeling a bit short, I do look at some of my things and I think I could probably sell that for a good chunk. But the seller, it is a bit scummy. But if people buy it, people buy it. Yeah. It's the buyer that I kind of hate the most, because I mean, back when there was a shortage of the SNES Mini and the NES Mini, I can kind of get that a little bit there, because there was a shortage.
Yeah.
Now Sony are going to learn from that, and they're obviously going to they're probably going to provide more. They're probably going to make sure, because obviously we're talking about. Because I don't think the NES and SNES Mini were released around Christmas, were they?
No, they were July-ish, I believe. Something like that.
Yeah, so this one is going to be a big Christmas seller. So they're going to make sure that there's plenty of those machines on the shelves. So so it's not going to be a hard machine to come by at all. I don't think.
And
so I would be astonished if anyone actually bought any of these, and if anyone did, then you don't deserve money. As simple as that.
See, what you kind of see around here with big businesses on eBay, they ramp up their prices to like $1,000, but they only do that when they're kind of out of stock, and then they know that nobody's going to buy it. But these people are like advertising it as PlayStation Classic console, very rare. Buy now price. Yeah, well, true. Buy now price $1,000 will be shipped with tracking as soon as it arrives at my home, the seller adds. That would be in December, when you will be able to buy the same product yourself for 1/6 of the price. So it's absolutely insane.
That's even worse, isn't it? Because people want to get in there before everyone else. They want to get it as soon as possible, so they'd be willing to pay potentially triple.
Yeah, exactly.
What it's actually worth. And so $300 Australian is, what would that be US?
That's about, no, not quite. It's about 210-ish. 220.
Really?
Hang on. Yeah, it sounds about 210, 220. Yep.
Yeah.
That shocks me, because I'm sure I saw somewhere that it was going to the retail price was going to be something like $99. I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure I saw something along those lines.
Are you thinking about the PC Mini? Maybe.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it might be the PC Mini or the DOS Mini, I guess.
Yeah.
It's slightly off topic, but I bet they really wish they could call that the DOS box, because it would make so much more sense. But obviously that's a bit of software, so they can't. But yeah, PC Mini is a bit. I mean, that is literally. A PC Mini is literally a Raspberry Pi, because that's what a Raspberry Pi is. It's a mini PC, essentially, isn't it?
Exactly.
Anyway, so back to PlayStation. It's a cool looking thing. Obviously it's a miniaturized, nice looking PlayStation, but for me, that's purely ornamental. That's the only appeal to me, is to have this like miniaturized version of a PlayStation. But the lineup is
lackluster at best, I reckon.
It's a good variety, I'll say that. You've got some like lesser known games in there, like Jumping Jack, I think. I forgot what it's called. Jumping Flash?
Yeah, Jumping Flash.
Yeah. So some lesser known games, and then you got some really obvious ones like Final Fantasy VII, I believe. But of course, no Resi 2, no Dino Crisis. What else should be on there? I guess. It's one game I would love to see on there, but only because I feel like it's unsung a little bit, and that's Silent Bomber. That's a great hidden gem for the PS1.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think there were some really obvious games that should really be on there.
I think they're kind of leaving a couple of really wanted ones out because they're remaking them, i.e. Resi 2, for instance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Did they leave like Spyro and Crash on the PS1? Nope, they didn't.
That's for the PS Classic, the one that's coming out. They're not on there at all.
Oh.
So like Silent Hill. I mean, there's so many games that should really be on there. That would be huge draws, because Silent Hill is a game that's increasing in price as well. Yeah. It fluctuates a lot, but it's always somewhere up in the hefty sums, like 30 or 40 pounds British. So, but, I mean, it's hard for me to comment really, because it is not something that I'm interested in anyway. Yeah. But but I've seen the lineup and I can't recall much of it. But I remember being not very impressed at all. So, Chelsea, are you on the market for a PS Classic?
Not really. I would be, but I've got a lot of expenses coming up, so I just can't afford one at the moment. I'll get one later, if I can.
When they drop $50.
Which will be probably quite quick.
Yeah.
When they drop
like after Christmas, they will drop about 50%, I guarantee it, at least.
Yeah.
And they'll be just like a bunch of them collecting dust on the shelf.
Yeah.
And yeah. What do you guys think of the whole, like, some people were saying things like, as soon as they announced it, people were like, "Oh, you're copying Nintendo" and stuff like that. Yeah. For shame, Sony, and all this. I mean, come on. They're all big companies. If one company does something really well, they're going to come out with their own version. I'm trying to think of an example. The only one that comes to me is when Final Fantasy VII broke and became a smash. Sony went and created a game called Legend of Dragoon, which kind of has mixed reviews, but they basically created that as essentially their Final Fantasy. So for a company to more or less copy another company, do their own version of it, it's not a bad thing. It's just this. It's just this elitism, I think. It's like, oh, Sony, you're better than this. We PlayStation players are better than this. Not like Nintendo,
Yeah.
And it started this whole like for shame argument. And
I think it's
it's not a bad thing. It's just not got a good lineup. That's all.
I mean, I think it's bound to happen with more like. I don't think Microsoft's going to do it because they've got the whole backwards compatibility thing. I think Sony kind of needed something just to fill in the gap until the PS5, which is the same as what Nintendo's done as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't see it as a rip-off. I mean, they're capitalizing on it, which is good on them for it, kind of thing. They just need better games on it. Yeah, it's business, exactly.
And slightly off topic again. There was obviously the N64 Mini was rumored.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this recently. I reckon it is in the works. Of course it's in the works.
Yeah.
They might have trouble getting the licenses to some of the games, but
yeah.
I reckon it's definitely in the works because it can't be that hard to emulate. If the PlayStation 1 can be done, and it's not that hard, the N64 is not much different, really. Obviously, the N64 is a bit more powerful, but still, the games aren't massive. But the reason why they're not I can't imagine they'd be too complex to create an N64 Mini. But I reckon there is one in the works, and I reckon when what's his name? The president of Nintendo of America.
Reggie. What's his name?
Reggie Fils-Aime, I think is how you pronounce that.
Okay.
I had to look it up, to be honest with you, because I didn't want to completely Fils-Aime.
What's his name?
How it looks to me, but it's like French name, definitely a French name, so it's Fils-Aime or something like that. Anyway,
yeah.
So he basically stepped up to say that it wasn't happening. Now, obviously, he's a big name as far as Nintendo goes. He's not far behind Miyamoto as far as like notability, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, nowhere near as accomplished and as famous, but as far as recognizable names goes, he's right up there. And I reckon they purposely chose him to step up and say, no, there's no N64, so people would take it absolutely seriously. And I reckon it's absolute rubbish, because I reckon it is behind the scenes being developed, but the reason why they're doing it and the reason why they're playing it down a little bit is because they want to promote and get Virtual Console, whatever they call it, doing really well on the Switch.
Yeah.
And when that starts to dry up a little bit, starts to stagnate and sort of plateau a little bit on the monetary side, then they'll go, oh, by the way, due to popular demand, we are now working on the N64, which is nonsense, because I reckon they've been working on it the whole time. That's my theory, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to watch the PS1 Classic now, see how well that does. And you got games like Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, I guess.
Yeah. It's just mainly licensing that they're going to have problems with. Yeah.
A lot of rare games that they're going to have trouble getting a hold of.
I mean, because Microsoft owns Rare now, Microsoft and Nintendo are pretty buddy-buddy at the moment. And they're looking at working together a lot more, because Microsoft's looking at jumping into Japan a lot more as well. So I can definitely see them both teaming up on a console, possibly, which could be the N64 Mini, because Microsoft owns quite a bit of the licensing of the different games and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that then, and we'll keep you guys posted about whatever we discover, and we'll keep an eye on that. I'll be very interested to see how the PS1 does.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's just like I thought about the Atari VCS. It's either going to be a smash success, surprisingly, because there is a nostalgia market to this thing, but the games aren't there. When people think PS1, they think Resident Evil 2. The only one that's going to really be a big draw is Final Fantasy 7, I think.
There's also Resident Evil, like the first Resident Evil is
on. Of course, it is. Yeah, Director's Cut.
Yeah.
Director's Cut, which actually isn't a Director's Cut. So it'd be interesting to see what they actually did with that, because most of the copies they shipped weren't actually much different than the original Resident Evil. It was like a mistake or something like that. I think only Japan got the actual Director's Cut, and I think some of the scenes that were meant to be in it, like for example, there's one sequence where I can't remember which character it is. I think it's Chris, who basically sparks up a cigarette during a rather cheesy intro sequence, and there's also they cut that out, and there was also there's a scene where someone picks up a gun from the floor and it's attached to a hand, and I think and it's a dismembered hand, but you see the actual the wound, the actual the bloody part, the gory part of the hand, if you like, but in the Western version, at least, I don't know about the Japanese version, they cut that out and they basically were meant to put that back in. So as far as I know, the Director's Cut isn't really the Director's Cut. It's pretty much the same thing. So so it'd be interesting to see if they actually honor that and actually make it the Director's Cut. So that might be a draw, I guess, for the purist collectors like myself. There might be some crazy person out there who will buy this just for the actual Director's Cut. Maybe it will be ported straight over. Maybe they will edit it, change it. Maybe they won't have the time or the resources or even the want to do it. So moving on, because we can talk about that or I could talk about that all day. What else is happening in the news there, Ant?
Another bit of an interesting topic as well. There is, so you're probably all well aware of Pokemon Fire Red. There is actually a remake that is being currently fan-made, I suppose you could say, or a fan remake that's been made. What is quite interesting about this is Nintendo has not gone out of their way and said that they're not interested, and they've not basically sent a cease or desist letter at all. They are aware of it, yet they're letting it proceed, which is quite interesting. It's being made in the Unreal Engine 4, and there's trailers on it, there's gameplay videos. There was a 2017 trailer which got taken down only due to web hosting issues that the guy had, and it looks quite interesting. There's no audio as of yet. You can hear the guy talking, he's not speaking English, I think he's speaking Spanish or something like that.
From the dialogue on the screen, I see that it is Spanish at least. Yeah.
It looks intriguing. I would like to play it, and it's going to be on PC. Apparently, if it goes ahead and is allowed,
I'd play it.
So would I.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, I think it looks good. I mean, I think from the video I've seen, the gameplay is a little bit ropey. The control of the character controls could be a little bit tighter. If anything, I think the character probably moves a bit too quickly, making him a little bit hard to control. So that could be tweaked a little bit, but that's not obviously very hard for the creator. If you can do all that, you can certainly tweak controls. Make them a little bit sharper, but visually, it's it's Unreal, isn't it? So it's going to be very, really good looking.
It looks gorgeous from because I didn't get to watch the trailer. From the image that I saw that you shared on our chat, it looked really, really pretty.
Yeah, the sequence I saw, I was sort of like, it was like a 2-hour video you sent us, which was interesting. I didn't want to watch it, skip through it, and there's a sequence where it's like. Basically, I believe it's Ash. Or it's, I assume it's Ash, right?
Red is the protagonist in Fire Red.
Oh, yeah. He goes into a shop, and I thought that's pretty cool. I thought that looked really cool. The shop was a bit bare bones, and probably a bit too big as well. But it's shaping up nicely, and it's very interesting to see that Nintendo, given how hardcore they have been recently about emulation and stuff, and fan projects. There was that one a while back, Pokemon Uranium, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was shut down pretty quickly, which was looking very interesting.
And didn't they shut down that Metroid 2 remake?
I believe so. Pokemon Uranium is actually on PC. It actually got released illegally. And it is playable.
Of course.
And it's basically like an emulator.
Dropped onto a server.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's basically like a ROM that's been bouncing from start to start, and it's still going, which is good, in my opinion, anyway.
I think it's a very interesting take because if it's one thing I've always felt the one direction the Pokemon, for me, the one direction Pokemon shouldn't be going in is adding more Pokemon. I think what they should do is build upon the Pokemon they already have, which they kind of attempted with Mega
Evolutions.
Mega Evolutions and Uranium. Obviously, I'm guessing when I think Uranium, I think mutation. And kind of like toxic waste and stuff like that. So I thought that would be a way to go with it, and just like create a story where like some toxic waste got spilled over Lavender Town or whatever, and
everybody died.
Everyone died, but the Pokemon survived and grew bigger. And then after 1,000 years later, when all the radiation calmed down, a new race of human beings or other creatures or aliens even came along and found these superpowered Pokemon that looked really badass and cool.
And subsequently enslave them. Cool.
Yeah, and force them to fight each other for money.
Exactly.
It's a huge version of like dogfighting or cockfighting or something.
Yeah, something like that. But I think the more kind of interesting, the more interesting aspect that I find about this is maybe Nintendo is kind of cutting people a little bit of slack as far as not so much emulation, but kind of fan-made products, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
Maybe they're gonna
talent scouting as well. Do you think?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they are.
It could very much be that. I mean, they were looking for. I saw something on a Facebook page that I follow. They're looking for game designers for the next Legend of Zelda.
Yep.
Oh. I know nothing about video games design, but I'll jump on that. I'll be like, I can learn really quick.
Yeah.
It's just C++, I assume. I don't know.
That's all I saw about it, and I was like, "Oh, what's this about?" And then I looked at it, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm not. I can't do any of that stuff." But it's pretty fascinating to know about that.
Yeah,
that they're already planning the next Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that goes without saying, really. I mean, when Breath of the Wild landed and it was like glowing reviews, they were like, "All right, time to get on the next one."
Basically.
And So I think I think it's they're realizing now that the best way to find new talent or to get new ideas is to look to the community.
Yeah.
And that's primarily what this is. I think they're kind of seeing it as an opportunity to sort of test market an idea that they haven't actually created themselves. So what could potentially happen here, and I can actually see this happening, is they will then come up with their own 3D remake of Fire Red, and probably, well, they probably will go maybe with. Well, Fire Red was a remake, wasn't it? So,
they'll just buy it off the guy.
Fire Red was indeed a remake of the original Red and Green games.
Yeah.
And that was the original color scheme as well. The first initial release is red and green, and interestingly,
then
yellow was kind of like
in Japan as well.
Yeah, but blue was kind of a fix for green. Essentially, it was basically a new version of green that was fixing some that fixed some bugs and stuff like that. So it was quite interesting. And then, of course, yellow happened. Yellow is generally considered the best, isn't it? Alongside gold, perhaps, I believe.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Gold was quite new, wasn't it? It was the first color game, I believe, and it was the first one. It was the one that introduced day and night cycles, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. I did play a bit of yellow, and then subsequently moved on to a more modern one. So guilty.
Yeah.
Funny story. I actually managed to emulate blue on a BlackBerry Torch phone years and years ago, and it ran so bad, but I was so determined. It was so slow, and of course when you don't have the bike or the running shoes or anything like that, the character runs fairly quickly, I guess. Whoever the character may be in the particular game, but it runs ridiculously slow. And then one day I thought, this is getting it. My phone overall was getting a bit laggy, so I thought, I know, I'll do a battery pull, and it wiped my save. so I was probably about 20 hours in, but of course in actual
good job
time it was more like 10 hours because of how slow it was running. But still, I played so much of it and had a good party going, and and I completely decimated it. So I thought, okay, that's going.
Good job.
Oops.
Cool. All right. So so we're running a bit long here. So anything else in the news? Anything?
No, that's it for this week. That'll do, I reckon.
All right, cool. All right, guys. So let's move on to our next segment then. So our next segment is, again, kind of experimental. Each episode from now on, we're going to be looking at what events occurred this week in video game history, and this is where I come in. So, guys, let's have a look at some video game history. Let's start sooner. So 20 years ago, back in 1998, Thief the Dark Project. What?
I was 1.
I was 15.
Oh dear.
I was 1 as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh god, I feel so damn old. So Thief the Dark Project, the first entry in the Thief series, was released for PC back in 1998, starting in North America. So guys, you familiar with Thief?
Yes.
No.
Thief is interesting because I don't look upon Thief as so let me just describe it a bit more. So it's a first-person stealth video game, and it's developed by Looking Glass Studios, and it's somewhat of a pioneer because it was really the first-person stealth game, and it really went down to it tried to create a very immersive, realistic, although that's arguable, stealth game. And you aren't this kind of overpowered spy who can sneak around if he wants to. You have to. You have no choice, and you have to be really, really careful and methodical, and you basically have to really, focus. So it's a game that frustrates a lot of people because it is very unforgiving. But that's only because it is a hardcore stealth game. I would even say that it's tougher than, say, Splinter Cell, which goes down to great detail. Is itself a very well-designed and well-made stealth game, and is also a game where you can't just go running and gunning. But Thief really went for the hardcore gamer, hardcore stealth video game fan. you have your very basic weapons. We're talking about medieval times here, so you didn't have things like silenced pistols or knockout rounds or cameras or anything like that, or hacking equipment. It was all very
hidden blades,
wooden. Very, very much so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very. You could even argue that this. I'm not sure. It could be the case. I don't know, but you could argue that this was kind of a bit of an inspiration for Assassin's Creed, perhaps. But of course, Thief was a first-person game, so it's approach with caution. It will frustrate you, but it's a very good game. So it's set in a medieval steampunk metropolis called, unimaginatively, the City. And players take on the role of a guy called Garrett, and he's a master thief, and he was trained by a secret society called the Keepers. And the Keepers teach Garrett everything he knows, skills that are intended to be used for more altruistic purposes. But Garrett ditches the organization when he concludes that hey, these skills will be pretty good for stealing stuff. So he embarks on a career for robbery and thievery.
Why not?
And one day, when carrying out a series of robberies, he basically ends up being embroiled in a complex plot that ultimately sees him attempting to prevent a great power from unleashing chaos on the world. It's a bit more
gets a bit out of control.
Wow.
A bit more fantasy based, even, I would say.
Yeah, okay.
And random side notes. Apparently, I didn't know this, but Looking Glass hide a basketball in a number of their games, a basketball court rather. So you'd be talking about a medieval set game here, and somewhere in there, there's a hidden basketball court. I love Easter eggs. Are so stupid. I love Easter eggs. They created System Shock and System Shock 2.
Yep.
And in those games, there are also hidden basketball courts. So random and stupid. I love it. Interestingly, it completely changed when it was released, because originally it was meant to be a game called Dark Camelot, where Merlin, I assume you play Merlin, was a time traveler. But eventually it became Thief, and before that it was also a game involving communist zombies. So it really, really changed.
Okay, cool.
What?
I don't know how you can be a communist zombie, because I feel like you don't really have any sort of political leanings when you're dead. But there we are. All right, so. All right, going back even further than 25 years ago, and now these are today, by the way. 20 years ago today was Thief: The Dark Project. Okay. 25 years ago today. Now this one is particularly interesting considering our topic. Illusion of Gaia, an action RPG, was released in 1993 on this very day in Japan for the Super NES or the Famicom. Although it is known as Illusion of Time in Europe and Australia.
That doesn't surprise me. They rename everything.
Yeah, Europe and Australia. I don't know. I assume the word Gaia might be. It might be. Usually, it's a copyright thing.
Yeah.
I didn't look into it much further, but there it is. So in Illusion of Gaia or Illusion of Time, you play a hero who's a young boy, of course, called Will, whose father disappeared a long time ago. And now he lives in a small town, like every other game, really, like Zelda, like most RPGs. He now lives in a small town, unassuming, quiet little kid, and suddenly he's in charge of saving the world.
Sounds like
now he lives in a small town.
Yes.
And exactly. Listen to this. So Will possesses unusual abilities of pushing and pulling things without touching them.
Oh dear.
Much like the heroes of Golden Sun. One day, Will finds in his house a mysterious girl who turns out to be a princess. I don't know why I wrote that. Who turns out to be a princess called Kara, and she's hiding from her father, King Edward, who wants her to marry a mysterious guy called, rather attractively, the Jackal. Which sounds like a lovely guy. Who want to marry a guy called Jackal, right?
Not me.
So, of course, Kara asks Will to help her escape the palace, and soon they both get involved in a string of mystery and conspiracies. Illusion of Gaia is an action role-playing game set in a fantasy version of Earth, featuring. It's actually set in real-world Earth as well, so you can visit places like Incan ruins, Egyptian pyramids,
cool.
The Great Wall of China as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when you control Will, the player can either fight in his regular form, or he can transform into two alter egos: the Dark Knight Freedom and a character called Shadow, who's basically a manifestation of energy. Each character, or rather each ego, I guess, has different attributes and fights with their own weapon. Interestingly, though, and this is very interesting for an RPG, in Illusion of Gaia, there are no monetary systems.
Mm-hmm.
Nor are there any equipment. which I find bizarre. And if you look up the images of Illusion of Gaia, it strikingly resembles Golden Sun.
Who was it developed by?
It was developed by I forgot. It was I'll find out now. It was developed by no one connected with Golden Sun.
Okay.
I did look that up. So it's more the character designs than anything else, like the big
so
head
it's just
and
random
the small
coincidence
body.
that it looks very similar.
So it would seem. There you go. It's developed by Quintet, who developed things like Legacy of the Wizard and also the Ys games as well. ActRaiser, Terra Enigma is really cool. ActRaiser 1 and 2, Soul Blazer, which is a predecessor to Illusion of Gaia. And interestingly enough, the final boss of Illusion of Gaia is actually the first boss from Soul Blazer, a character called Strong Arm, I think he was called. And in fact, if you defeat him, he actually says you are stronger than Blazer or something along those lines.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so very, very cool. Highly recommended. Although it's one of those, like most RPGs for the Super NES, pretty much any early 90s or late 80s RPG, it does go for a fair price. So good luck finding a decent copy of that.
Yeah, and with emulation going down in the dumps, can't really do that.
Yeah, we don't condone emulation, but you know, it's okay. So, alright, so 30 years ago, going back even further than 1988, and again, on this day, in 1988, Altered Beast was released for the Sega Mega Drive.
Oh, can't say I've ever heard of that one.
You've never heard of Altered Beast?
No,
what?
I've never heard of, like,
I know, right?
any of these.
I mean, I know you're a lot younger than me, but I figured Altered Beast was would be fairly synonymous with video games in general. It's a
I've
game
heard
that's
of
not
that even.
So so Altered Beast was the very first pack-in title for the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis in the West. I'm not sure about Japan, to be honest. And in Altered Beast, you play a hero raised from the dead, and there's a very famous line that comes from the game, which is "Rise from your grave," and you'll know it if you heard it. I wish I had a soundbite, but I don't. But you'll know it if you heard it. And you play a hero who's raised from the dead, an unnamed hero. He's raised from the dead by the god Zeus, with the purpose of rescuing his daughter. And it's interesting because he's a god, so you think he'd be able to rescue his daughter himself because he's a god. But there we are. So you are a hero who's been raised from the dead, and in order to sort of return the favor, Zeus basically says, go rescue my daughter Athena. So throughout the levels, the scenery of which inspired by ancient Greece, you have to fight hordes of undead and demons, with a classic boss at the end, usually something ridiculous. The first boss is quite fascinating because he's like a tower of grossness with a giant demon head, and he actually literally has one arm, I believe, or possibly two arms, but one of his arms he uses to basically throw his head at you, but he has unlimited regrowing heads. It sounds really bizarre on paper,
Joyous.
But in the game, you kind of think, oh, that's actually pretty standard, because he literally flicks his head at you, and his head keeps regenerating, and then they fall from the top of the screen like rain. So you have to kind of like maneuver between them. But it's a very, very quite a bizarre game, and eventually you get to meet the god Neph, who's the one that is actually holding Athena captive. So helping you along the way are like shape-shifting abilities, hence Altered Beast. And in this, not so well aged platformer, you collect these because it hasn't aged very well. It's a fun game, but you have to kind of remind yourself that this is early Mega Drive we're talking about.
That's a creepy way of saying it, I must say.
What?
The way it says "rise from your grave." It's weird.
It's.
Oh god.
It's like rise from your grave.
There you go.
Rise from your grave.
Oh god. That's
weird. It's like a zombie or something.
It's a very interesting. It's a very good example of early speech synthesis as well. So you collect these spirit balls, and how do you get these spirit balls? You kick a two-headed wolf in the face, of course.
Which
Oh,
because it's a video game from late 80s, so it's got to be two-headed something, or something really bizarre and creepy, or something really grotesque and deformed, like the bosses and all that. Yeah, it's a bizarre game. Anyway, so from when you kill these wolves, you get these orbs, and when you collect them, you're able then to change into an alternate form or an alternate beast, each form is linked to a particular level. In the first level, you transform into a werewolf. In the second level, it's a dragon, which is arguably the most powerful one, because you basically can have like free roam around the screen. You can fly, and you have this kind of Blanka-like electricity attack. Yeah, it makes you more or less invulnerable. It's like a tiger and a bear, and in other versions they added things like, I think they added a shark, I want to say, in one of them.
A shark.
Yeah, so some sort of land shark, I guess. I don't know, I've not looked it up. I assume it also added additional levels. It was the NES version. They added the additional levels, so... I'm trying to think of the other form, some sort of bird, I believe. Anyway, so each form is loosely linked to a particular stage. It comes with special abilities such as flight and special power attacks, and of course, the purpose is, in order to progress in this game, you have to get these power-ups, because your punches and kicks are really pathetic, and there's like vertical attacks that are kind of weak as well. You can actually get stronger, and there's another soundbite that the game made famous, which is quite simply power up. Literally, the character says power up when he gets power up. Another very famous soundbite from that. So yeah, Altered Beast, 1988, released in Japan 30 years ago. The last one. Now this one is probably the most notable, I'd say. So going back 35 years ago now.
Oh dear.
And this is pretty much not long after I was born. A game called Astron Belt was released by Sega.
I've even heard of that one.
Yeah, this was released in North American arcades first, developed by Sega, and not much can be said about this game really. It's a very advanced version of a standard space shooter. It's kind of, gameplay-wise, it's very similar to, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, say, what's that game called? It's the game where you play, you're in an F-14, I believe. So,
yeah.
Oh, what's it called? It escapes me.
Not Ace Combat, obviously. That was originally an arcade game.
Yeah, but similar, from what I recall, similar to that anyway, but that'll come to me at some point. Anyway, you're basically behind the ship. It's a forced perspective, and it's kind of like the illusion of 3D. Now, what makes it particularly notable is that although the gameplay isn't that remarkable, it was the first Laserdisc game. My apologies. And that's a very interesting weapon. And this was from the very innovative early years of Sega. So, and the Laserdisc games were interesting because they basically allowed the overlay of video, actual live video, onto video gameplay. So you had things like games like. Dragon. Oh, what's it called? Dragon's Lair, and that was like cartoon video and things like that. So this one had like the kind of special effects you would see in a 1980s sci-fi movie. So like when something explodes in space, it's like explosion of sparks. So that was behind the actual gameplay. It was an active, real-time background. So. Basically video gameplay graphics overlaid onto actual video. So really cool, really innovative for the time, and Sega were very innovative in their early years. So yes, Astron Belt, 35 years ago.
Cool.
I believe this week, I don't think it was today, but still very
close enough.
Forgotten, innovative game. Very cool. And there we go. So concludes our history segment, guys. So what do you think of those then? Interesting.
Some of them sound really interesting. I want to go play them now.
Altered Beast is probably available on some sort of non-emulating platform.
Yeah, I'll find Altered Beast somewhere.
It's always available. When Sega release their collections and things like that, it's almost always available in that because it's probably alongside Sonic and such. It's one of their most famous games.
I think I might check out Illusion of Time or Gaia, depending where I get it from.
I don't believe the versions changed all that much by region as well, so I think either way, whichever version, whichever. I think if you got Gaia, though, I think it would be in Japanese, of course. So
true. Yeah.
Whether it'll be patched, I don't know. So yeah, best look for Illusion of Time in your local video game store. I hope.
Nah, not quite. Go to the up shop.
I'm pretty sure. No, it's just it'll probably cost you about 60, 70. No, actually, we're talking Australian dollars, aren't we? So we're probably talking about $100, probably.
Emulation.
Yeah. So there we go, guys. So you won't be able to. Good luck getting Astron Belt because the Laserdisc games, as far as I know, are very hard to emulate, or at least they don't run very well. I mean, buy an arcade machine. Don't emulate. Anyway, so guys, shall we move on to our main topic? So a little bit of history about Golden Sun. So this was created by Camelot. They were established in 1994 by Shugo Takahashi, and their early works include entries in the Shining Force RPG series. So a lot of inspiration from the development of Shining Force went into Golden Sun. A lot of their experience developing that game visually is fairly similar as well. And then later Camelot became an affiliate of Nintendo. So during that time they would work on like Mario Sport games such as Mario Golf and Mario Tennis, and then eventually they were sort of commissioned to basically make a game for originally it was actually meant to be for the N64, fascinatingly enough. So it was obviously going to be a much bigger game. So somewhere in 1999 they began on Golden Sun. They're still going today as an affiliate of Nintendo. The last game they made was Mario Tennis Aces for the Nintendo Switch.
And it makes me very sad they haven't continued work on Golden Sun, which there's been arguably a lot of want for it, but they just haven't done it.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's still just too much in the cult status. I think I don't think it's quite got that draw. You know what I mean? It's not quite. It's hardly Zelda, but it's not exactly a complete flop either. It's more of a cult favorite. I think it just hasn't got quite that guaranteed level of sales. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But let's get a petition out there. Right? It would be a perfect game. I would love to see a version on the Switch, or at least a new game on the Switch.
Yes, 100%.
That would be absolutely perfect. That console is perfect for basic RPGs. Nothing like say 3D like Final Fantasy or anything beyond that. But back in the mid '90s era RPGs, games like that, games especially like Golden Sun, would be perfect for the Switch. So hopefully they'll get on that. It gained critical acclaim, achieved reasonable sales, and sold somewhere in the area of 1 million copies worldwide. So it did pretty well. That was released 17 years ago. Being the expert, Chelsea.
Okay.
So do you want to give us a bit of a review? No review. A bit of a
overview.
Yeah. So the plot of Golden Sun is, the first one at least, is that you play as a young adept called Isaac. He's skilled in Earth Synergy, Venus Synergy, however you pronounce it. So he can basically move objects without touching them. He can cause earthquakes. He can make plants grow. It's pretty cool. He comes from a little town called Vale, which protects a mountain which has significant meaning in the story. I won't spoil you too much on that, but it's very significant. And then he ends up being thrown into this quest to save the world when some adepts from Gondolin, which is another continent, come to his town and steal these 4 stones called the Elemental Stones, which are really important to this game as well. I'm not going to spoil too much of it for you, but you have to play it to get it. But they have to go rescue. They have to go get these stones back and get them back to their hometown, and they also have to rescue their childhood Isaac and his friend Garrett have to rescue their childhood friend Jenna and the old scholar that lives in town because they got kidnapped.
Cool. Like you do.
Yeah, like you do.
Nice synopsis. No, not too spoilery.
Nah, you gotta play this series for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be hard not to spoil some things, though. I think so. Going forward, probably should say spoiler alert. Generally speaking, it's hard not to. It should go without saying, really. Of course, we're going to accidentally spoil some things, but you know what? There's loads of story beats in the game, and those we don't really need to go into too much detail. So there's plenty to be had in this game. It's a good 30-hour RPG if you really want to sink some time into it. At least I would call it somewhere around there.
And you should sink some time into it, because what you do in the first game can impact what you do in the second game if you do it right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go into more detail on that on the next episode then, because that I did not know that. So I love that kind of transference of save games onto the next entry in the game series, and how it can actually have a direct, not just a case of porting over your tools and equipment and money, but actually
it has a direct effect on it. Like, it's got certain events are triggered by you putting your save data into Golden Sun 2.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a bit of personal history then. So I started playing. I first played Golden Sun. I want to say it wasn't a very long time ago. It was probably about 2012, probably. And it was one of those sort of opportunistic purchases. I didn't know anything about it. I love diving into a game with little to no knowledge about it. The name spoke RPG to me. I just knew it was an RPG from the title, from the cover art and stuff. It was very reminiscent of I thought Breath of Fire initially, or Fire Emblem or something like that. So that immediately drew me in. And I bought it. It was for the GBA. It hasn't really been on anything else. And the GBA is one of my favorite consoles of all time. So I was always looking for that one game that I could really sink hours into. At the time, I was sinking many hours into Metroid Zero Mission and Fusion, and those were getting a bit stale because I was playing probably a bit too much. And there's other games like Advance Wars and stuff like that. So I was looking for an RPG. I wanted an RPG. Well, I have Final Fantasy 4 and 5 on there as well. I sunk a lot into that. Obviously, Final Fantasy 4 is probably my favorite Final Fantasy. Anyway, that was basically my introduction to it, and I played it. It was basically what I would call my back pocket game. I never went anywhere without my GBA. Generally, I don't anyway. Right now I'm looking at my shoulder bag, and I know my GBA is in there.
Good.
It always goes everywhere with me. I have the metallic pink one as well. Anyway,
nice.
It's a lovely little machine, and it's beautiful, and it goes everywhere with me. So the GBA was the perfect console for me. It's got just enough power to play some really good-looking games, good sounding games, big games too. It's not like a standard Game Boy. It's very much a Game Boy Advance, so that's what I was doing, like going back and forth work, GBA, Golden Sun on the bus, Golden Sun on the bus home, Golden Sun while I walk, which is a very rare thing for me to do, because I don't recommend it. But I remember one time actually walking home and having Golden Sun tucked up to pretty much towards my collarbones because it was raining. I was still trying to play it. Kind of looking like I was struggling to breathe or something, because I had my shirt tucked up and my hands up towards my throat, so it looks like I was in trouble or something. And to the observer, probably looked very strange. But you know what? I wanted to carry on playing because it is an absolute joy to play. I love it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's right up there. And I think I said this. I was planning on saying this a little bit later, but it is my favorite. I don't know. I think it ties first, actually, for me with Final Fantasy IV. But in terms of standalone handheld RPGs, Golden Sun is by far my favorite. I've not played the second or third one, of course, but it is my favorite. It's my go-to RPG when I'm traveling. Let's just say that. It's always in my bag. So, Chelsea, what about you? You got a bit more of a history about with Golden Sun, of course. So,
okay. So I don't actually remember what year this is. I know I was fairly young because I was fairly young. I think I was only about 10 or 11. Our father my sister's my father found it on the ground. Someone had dropped
really?
it. Yeah, someone had dropped
wow,
the
that's kind of cool. I like that.
The second one, and he brought it home for us, and we played it, and we obviously, like, when we got into it, it was like right at the end, so we had no idea what was going on. But we realized,
you started someone else's save.
Yeah, we realized
why.
Second, well, because it was like right at the end, so we were like, "What's going on?" Yeah, well, didn't work. So we decided we'll try and get the first one, and we managed to secure one copy. And we just really played it a fair bit when we were younger, and then we had to due to life circumstances, we had to get rid of it. But my sister's actually got another copy, and I may have done the naughty thing. They emulated it a couple of times. But it's my personal experience was that it was one of the first games that wasn't Pokemon, but wasn't exclusively Nintendo either. So and I really liked the whole the magic sort of side of it, and the little critters and the sort of world around it, because that's the sort of stuff that draws me to a game. And the music, we'll talk about that later, but the music is pretty bomb. Yes.
Yeah. What do you want?
Yeah.
You got an interesting, perfectly legal introduction to the game?
My history was a week ago. That was my introduction to it. But I have played a lot of Camelot games. I've played Mario Tennis on Game Boy Advance, of course. I've got lots of memories of, because I was a lot in hospital when I was younger, of like waking up and having a new game, which was Mario Tennis, while being in hospital. And it's, for me, a Camelot game is the way they, like, the voices, not that they have voices, but like the voice sounds that they make, the characters make.
It's quite weird.
It's weird, but it's like, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh wow, this is a Camelot game, and I didn't even realize that it was when I first turned it on. But I mean, funnily enough, I've always wanted to play Golden Sun since I first got a Game Boy Advance, really. It's something that I've had my eye on, and I've never really gotten around to it, and good excuse to get into it, last week, so why not?
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad we pushed you into it, because it's one of my... I mean, it's hard not to... When people say I want to play an RPG, it's hard not to recommend something that's fairly obvious. So Golden Sun is off like Final Fantasy, probably even Illusion of Gaia. But for me, Golden Sun is one of the most overlooked RPGs. So I often go to that because I know that it's a game that's hard to dislike. There are aspects that people don't dislike, but there are really good and interesting aspects like Jin or Ginny, and it's one of my favorite aspects of Golden Sun is the Ginny, because it adds a Pokemon style aspect to it. And I don't want to keep saying that Pokemon, I don't want to keep referencing Pokemon because it's hard not to. Pokemon didn't exactly invent that kind of concept, but it was of having like a kind of like a familiar, if you like, or like a team of critters behind you, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or power-ups through animals and all that stuff. But the Ginny are basically small creatures that inhabit the world. They are free roaming. They do their thing, and some are less friendly than others. So
slightly.
But you have to. They represent your power-ups. They are your buffs, essentially.
They're physical embodiments of whatever synergy that there is in the world. So they're physical energy beings.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that's technically what Jin are. They're just the physical embodiments of the various different sub-forms of synergy that you get.
Elements and whatnot.
Yeah, so with Venus, for example, you've got, the destructive capabilities, but you've also got like the shielding capabilities of it, and that happens in all of the sort of the elements, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are loads.
Loads of what? You cut out.
You cut out there.
There are loads of Ginny scattered around the world.
Yeah.
And this for me adds a reason to explore.
Exactly. Yeah.
with a lot of folks, I find that when it comes to RPGs, most people don't want to explore because they kind of get a bit tired of random encounters. But what Golden Sun does, and this is obviously a design choice, is that this encourages you. I mean, it's a beautiful world anyway, and very varied. Loads of different colourful, wonderfully textured worlds. Some of the internal areas as well, like some of the desert villages. Every some of the more epic sort of cities and towns and castles and underground places and things like that. All these chambers. They have these wonderful, all this beautiful architecture and color. And it's just so vibrant and beautiful. So that's a reason to explore anyway. And also I find the characters are actually fun to control. And not only that, they also turn in 8 directions, or they move in 8 directions, which is quite unusual actually for such a small RPG. Usually it's 4 directions. Final Fantasy IV is another example. And the exploration, controlling the characters is a lot. Controlling the characters, or Isaac rather, is generally a lot more fun than it normally is in an RPG. Just to watch the characters move, the way they run, the way their heads bob around, and they kind of have this kind of
idle animations too.
On the little blinking eyes and stuff.
Oh no! Like the 10 seconds of shrugging and looking left, right, and then it's funny as.
It's cute.
Yeah, it is.
It's an adorable world, and so these genies are scattered all over the place. Some of them are very much plain and hidden inside. Plain and right before you, especially the very first genie you encounter is obviously there too as a bit of a tutorial. And he's right outside of the veil.
And he's arguably the best one.
Yes, agreed.
And then later on, there are others which are actually tricks to get. So you can find yourself spending nearly 30 minutes trying to obtain this one genie, and you might be thinking, why when you have these other genie? But the thing is, you don't really know what this genie is really going to grant you. You can kind of guess by its color, so you got the green, blue, red, and I guess dark red, I suppose. Genie, they all represent their respective elements.
Yeah.
But when you obtain a genie, they grant you powers and abilities and buffs and debuffs and whatnot. So you don't really know exactly what they grant you. So it gives you that risk reward aspect where you don't really know what it's going to get you, but you want to find out.
Yeah, and there's not to mention that when you the more Jin you collect, the fact that you can mix and match them, and you can change each other's classes too. So you can just give the Venus Jin to Isaac, who's a Venus synergy user, but you can maybe give them half of them to your Jupiter adept or your Mercury adept, and then you can change their classes, and that grants them new synergy that's could be stronger, could have different uses. There's actual moments in the game where you have to grant either a Mars Jin to Isaac or a Venus one to Garrett, because you need the specific ability that they grant. Yeah,
for instance Cure, which I had issues with. I had 3 Jin assigned to Isaac, I think it was. Or I think it was 3. And it was funny because the combination that I had wouldn't allow me to have my Cure ability, so I had to keep disabling one of them to Cure, and then I'd enter battle, and then because when you automatically enter battle, they automatically get reassigned, kind of thing. Then I'd lose my Cure again, and I kept dying. But I love the way it kind of
it just throws you in there and just expects you to learn. It gives you a little bit of guidance. At the beginning, with Flint, but then it's figure out the rest for yourself. Figure out the combinations. Figure out what works.
And it doesn't force you either, so you can kind of go about your own way and get whatever Jin you want to. But however, when you come across a very hard boss or whatever, you wish, I should have gone and got that Jin that I could have just walked up a path and got, or whatever. But I love the way it kind of blends exploration with story. It does it very well compared to a Final Fantasy. I don't like any of the top-down Final Fantasies at all. I much prefer a game like Golden Sun compared to Final Fantasy 1 or 2.
That's interesting because Final Fantasy, the early Final Fantasy good examples of games that do not hold your hand in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Now, Golden Sun doesn't do that. What Golden Sun does better, in my opinion, is that it gives you reason to explore other than progressing the story. So even though you get the random encounters again, of course, and that's a strange thing with certain players. Some RPG players, although they love RPGs, kind of roll their eyes on the fifth, fifth random encounter or something like that. But with Golden Sun, you kind of accept it because you are on a hunt to find Ginny and explore this world. And once again, it's far more vivid and far more beautiful than any early Final Fantasy, I'd say. Could argue it's better looking than even the 3D era Final Fantasy games. And I hate having to compare it to to Final Fantasy a lot, but it's hard not to.
Yeah,
because there are certain aspects that it does. It's similar, yeah, but there's certain aspects that it does so much better than Final Fantasy. What I was also going to bring up was the other reason to collect the Ginny is also that they grant you the ability to summon. And again, you don't know what the summons will be, but basically for every single one Ginny can mean a massive jump in summoning power. Because there are some summons when you have like 5 or 6 Ginny. I think 6 is the maximum, right?
7.
There's a 5.
I thought it was.
Is it really? I think they added more in the game.
Yeah, I think it's 7 in the first Golden Sun and 9 each in the second one.
Might be right. I can kind of picture it now, yeah, because you have like an indicator of well, you kind of have like a numbering, really, don't you? If I recall, there's some sort of numbering somewhere, 5, 6, 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you collect these Ginny, they grant you those extra summoning powers. Now, of course, again, to Final Fantasy, you kind of collect the summons. You have them, but again, Golden Sun doesn't just give you anything. It encourages you to collect these Ginny, not only to grant yourself powers, but also to improve your summoning abilities as well. And of course, the summons are really powerful in some cases, and they are sometimes a matter of failure or success.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that really stands out for me is that the battles can be particularly dramatic, because as you're fighting, if you're playing Golden Sun properly, and I'm not going to say that you're playing it wrong for doing the latter, the alternative, there's something else here, but if you're playing it properly, what you're doing is you're using your Ginny. It's very easy to keep your Ginny in the back pocket and use them for when you're fighting bosses and stuff like that. But when you're fighting, particularly when you're fighting bosses, to bring your Ginny into play, to activate them if you like, also use them, shall we say, rather than keep them in your back pocket. As you use them, they do their basic attack, which can be very powerful as well, but it's a fairly straightforward attack. They are ready to go then. That is, for every Ginny you activate, if you like, is one step towards a summon. So you're constantly building up this summoning power, like a kind of dramatic, it's a really kind of tense moment where you're charging, if you like, this summon ability. You could cast a summon right now. You could cast your 4 Ginny summon, if you like, or you can keep going and then get another Ginny in there, and then you max out to get that superpowered summon level. Shall we call it a level 7 summon when you're using all 7 Ginny? So it has that sort of dramatic aspect where you're really building up that power, and you can't wait, because you know the moment you cast that summon is the moment you're going to bring some pain. And you're taking all these beatings and you're laying down all these sort of basic attacks. You're defending yourself, you're curing yourself and stuff like that.
It's very tactical.
It's incredibly
definitely.
Yeah. I was going to mention something to Ant then, and I forgot what it was.
There's also another reason you can explore and like get into random encounters. And maybe I'm one of the few who knows this. You might know this, David. But
okay.
When certain monsters drop the most powerful weapons for the character, like a specific character in the game, and you've got to like keep randomly encountering this, because these are very rare item drops and they're very hard to come by. But if you manage to get them, it'll give you a advantage against the final boss and the secret boss.
Secret boss is great. Basically a giant zombie skeleton. What I like about, just slightly skip ahead here, the final, the secret dungeon is called, what's it called? Crossbone Isle.
Crossbone Isle, yeah.
Yeah, Crossbone Isle is great because it in many ways it's an homage to not an homage, it's more of a nod to the hardcore RPG fan, because there's nothing short of a very simple level by level by level by level dungeon crawl.
No.
It gets progressively harder from the very basic enemies, and every room you're basically going down and down these steps, and no design really went into this whole thing in terms of aesthetics, because it doesn't matter at all, because it's a challenge. It's about, can you get to the bottom of this thing and fight the final boss. So you're literally going down the steps, you come to this sort of plateau, this sort of cliff edge, if you like, and you enter a room, you fight some guys, maybe you get some drops, maybe you get some XP.
Yep.
And then you come out, and then it's back down another flight of steps, and then into the next room, and I think it's about 30 levels. So it's you've done the game, now you just want to fight, right? You're super powered, you got all your Ginny, you want a challenge now, you want to and it is a challenge. It took me a good few goes, because the amount of times if I recall, the amount of times I would go room 1, room 2, or rather level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and then get to a point where I actually was a bit weakened, because you can't really heal up when you have all you have with you. You gotta have like your cure and your health items and whatnot. You have to have those. What I found myself doing is exiting and saving, and then going back in. So then if I died, I can basically restart from there. So kind of cheating in a way, but that was the only way to do it. But I've never done like a solid straight run, I'll be honest. So it is a genuine challenge, and the final boss.
The final boss is the secret boss is actually stronger than the final boss, which it makes kind of a little bit sense, but he's also like monstrous in like the fact that he's so much stronger that if you aren't prepared and you don't have your Jin like properly, like if you don't utilize your Jin properly and you don't properly utilize the skills of Mia in particular, it's what I always found, is that you will be wrecked within the first turn.
Mia's arguably one of the most important characters in that game. She's basically the Aerith of the game. Again, to reference Final Fantasy.
I've only just got it. I'm nowhere near the end. I've only played like 10 hours of it, so.
Where are you, out of curiosity? I'm curious.
Mercury Lighthouse.
Oh,
you're
at the fun bit. You're at the first fun bit.
I've already died once. That's already fun enough.
Once is pretty good. Well, once so far, or once in Mercury.
Once in Mercury Lighthouse.
Okay.
You're still doing well.
I've only died like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Do you know what I've noticed about Golden Sun, and I feel this is something that's not very prevalent in other games, is that your abilities are used in the world as puzzle solving mechanic, part of solving puzzles, and also the one that comes to mind is things like Frost, which is brilliant because you could be wandering around, and they're so innocuous initially because they're just puddles. You go into a cave and you see like one ledge on one side, one ledge on the other side, and in the middle there's just this completely random puddle. Now, Golden Sun doesn't say, by the way, this puddle's very important. It's not just a puddle. I know Spider-Man fans would argue differently.
It just basically says, here's a puddle.
Just do something with it.
Say anything. Although the only thing it does is when your character goes up to it, he skips over it. So it kind of has a kind of this presence about it, but it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't say, by the way, this is going to help you. You need to learn how to realize that this is actually something that's going to help you progress the game, because without it, you're not going to get very far. And of course, again, going back to the not knowing what Ginny grants you what power. If you don't have Frost as one of your abilities, you won't know what to do. Actually, no, I tell a lie. It doesn't. I think it does actually. I think I'm wrong. I think Frost is the one time that it actually gives you a tutorial.
If you click it, I think if you click the puddle, it doesn't really do anything. But there's actually a Jin that shows you what to do much later in the game.
I feel like there was also one like where I think if you go up to it, there's a moment where I can't remember if there's some dialogue or whether it just whether Isaac just casts Frost automatically. I honestly can't recall. But anyway, it still doesn't hold your hand for the rest of the game anyway. But it if you don't have Frost, you can't get far basically at that stage. And there's also other things like Whirlwind, for example. You need that ability to be able to push away bushes from in front of doors.
Yes.
For example, Anthony, when you get that ability, you would go back to Goma Cave. Because at Goma Cave, there is a platform you can climb up to at the entrance, where there is a very fairly obviously covered up entrance.
I think I've already got Whirlwind.
Yeah, Whirlwind's one of the stock standard ones that Ivan comes with. But anyway,
I need to get what's it called? The reveal. I think it's called. Reveal?
Yes, reveal.
Yeah, I need to get that.
Reveal is great because what is brilliant about Golden Sun also is that you can assign one of your abilities to the left and right shoulder buttons,
which one of the most one of the most handy ones with that is because there's so many people mind read, because if you don't use that skill a lot, you could actually miss some things.
And some interesting dialogue as well. Mind read
definitely.
itself, or I don't think they call it. Didn't they just call it read or something?
Nah, it's mind read.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
I've got in my head that all powers had like one singular name or something. Anyway, so that is an aspect that I've not seen in any other game. The ability to not only reveal is another example. I don't think I've seen much of that. I can't think of anything like that. I mean, in other RPGs, the only other example I can think of is if you cast some sort of light magic that reveals in a dark corner some sort of item or door or something. But there are so many things in Golden Sun that I feel that just make it unique, and I've not seen in any other RPG. They probably are, but Golden Sun just did it so well. And Mind Read is brilliant because this opens up a whole new world of story in a way, because you can read the mind of pretty much anybody.
Even trees.
The tree thing is important.
Well, trees are technically people, so whatever.
Yeah, technically.
Some people would argue that, yeah.
You can mind read trees.
And of course, reveal is a very spammy kind of ability, because the amount of times I was just casting that wherever I was. When I first mapped that to the shoulder button, I was constantly doing it because I was like, there must be something around you. There's got to be something hidden around you, and I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, finding hidden things in games.
And when you find something hidden, it's like, oh, it worked. It worked this time.
Yeah, and it's always a surprise, and sometimes it can be like a chest or there are chests in the game. There are chests in the game, aren't there?
Yes, there are.
Yeah. There'd be like doors and things like that, and also it's not just a case of hiding things. It also helps you solve puzzles, or revealing things rather. It also helps you solve puzzles, because reveal can also reveal another aspect of an area which is integral to a puzzle. Like it can be a switch, or even in the case of this one example, and again another case of not hand-holding, brilliant game design, and providing you many moments where you have those aha moments where you feel great because you solved the puzzle yourself and you figured it out, because you have those moments. And a good example of this, there's one very odd puzzle, and I think it's very early on in the game, when you're trying to rescue a guy called Bilbin, who's in a cave, and he's rumored to be hundreds of years old. Barbie, thank you, yes. And when you go and find him, you find that he's actually invisible. And although reveal doesn't do anything there, I think you have to find reveal afterwards, if I recall. But he mentions that he needs a draft, and it's obviously the case that the draft is actually what makes him, was keeping him alive all this time. But because he's lost his draft, he's essentially dying, because he's reverting back to his true age. So he's basically completely unable to move on the floor because he's ravaged with age, and you have to go off to find his draft. Now, obviously, this is an RPG. It's not a case of looking behind a door under a rock. This is actually a whole quest, and somewhere near the end there is. Okay, I'm going to spoil this puzzle. So yeah, skip ahead about 20 seconds if you want to hear it. You have to use reveal to identify the colors assigned to this group of rocks, and you have to arrange them in a certain. And reveal reveals the colors of the rocks, because without reveal you just see plain circle of rocks. If I recall, my memory is actually quite vague of this.
So it's like a little line of rocks, and like on the wall above you, there's these giant bubbles, and they spin, and the one that appears at the top and flashes is the one you have to match with one of the rocks in front of you. But if you don't have reveal, you won't know what the color is.
It's just plain rock. So it's and of course when you go there, you see the, so you think how am I going to know which rock is assigned to which color? And of course you think, oh wait, reveal will show me, right? I can't mind read the rock, so I'll use reveal and it'll tell me what color it is, right? And of course when you do then cast reveal, there they are. So there's plenty of moments like that where you, like I just think it's brilliant game design where it just gives you plenty of opportunities to solve things yourself. Some of the puzzles are particularly difficult. I'm quite happy to say that I managed to get through the game without a walkthrough. But again, if you persevere, eventually you'll figure it out, and you'll have the wonderful aha moments several times through Golden Sun.
Yeah. One thing I really like about it as well is that it does backtracking very well. Like, it doesn't force you to... But, like, most RPGs, it's like, oh, I've got to trudge 30 kilometers to get to this area. And then, all just to drop off a letter or something weird. This is very much like, I've got this ability, I can go back and get this, and it's got good... Like, it rewards players, I suppose you could say. It doesn't feel like a slog. It doesn't feel like it's just constantly back and forth. It does it extremely well, I reckon.
It doesn't feel like a grinder game. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It doesn't feel like a grind at all, like Golden Sun.
Yep.
I mean, it helps to grind, as it always will do in RPGs, but you could probably get through the game without grinding too much. So if the grind is too much for some folks, I'm sorry, that sounds so horrible. If you're not elite RPG players like us, if you don't like the grind, if the grind is something that puts you off RPGs, Golden Sun is quite friendly to that stuff.
Yes,
the
it's
grind
very minimal.
obviously helps. It's very minimal. It obviously helps. It obviously makes some battles a lot easier. I will say it certainly helps with the final boss, and it certainly helps with Deadbeard as well. The hidden boss at the end of Crossbow Nile, and to have as many Jinn as possible also. But up to that point, you can quite comfortably get through the game with not all the Jinn, with whatever setup of powers you pretty much have. Although some cases I would argue differently, but for the most part, it's very friendly to the new RPG player.
Yeah, like
I
haven't grinded in it at all yet. Not that I'm very far into it. I mean, I could have, and I probably wouldn't have died, but I mean, you don't really feel like you need to grind, because it's like when I first entered Mercury Lighthouse, it recommends that you're level 10 or something like that, I believe, and I'm like level 7, I think. But
it's still doable if you're on level 7. Like, it doesn't punish you for not being on the level that it's recommending.
Yeah, and you can level up as well in the actual area that you need to be in, kind of thing. So, unlike Torchlight, where you got to spend like 30 hours grinding.
I'm the kind of person that like the idea of, one of my favorite aspects of RPGs is the fact that it does afford you opportunities to become ridiculously overpowered. So I am the kind of person who would grind before a dungeon at any point, just because I know it's beneficial.
Yeah.
But I will say that a Golden Sun, again, to slightly repeat myself, is not a game where I did that all that much. I did when I like, for example, if I died in one area and I knew that this boss or these particular enemies were particularly tough, I could reassign some of my Jinn and Ginny and get a bit, maybe get my my party correct, or at least make my party more effective in this particular given area.
Yeah.
Or I can grind, and I would always go to the grind because that's just how I play my RPGs. But once again, you just don't really need to do it. It's very much a good entry RPG, and not only that, it's on a handheld as well, so you've got no excuse. So you can play, and the amount of blurry-eyed 3 a.m. nights I had playing Golden Sun, thinking to myself, I'm gonna play Golden Sun for about a half an hour. That'll get me nice and tired, and I'll doze off. 4 hours later, I'm looking at the window, going, the sky's looking a bit blue. I think it's basically the next day now, and I'll probably still continue for another hour or so. So yeah, it's perfect for that. To take wherever you go, and again, you don't need to sink too much time into it. It's very pick up and playable. It's good for casual games. It's good for hardcore RPG players like ourselves. But it's a great entry RPG. If you've not played RPGs before, it's a great entry RPG.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Super duper. So guys, so we've been going on about gameplay a fair amount there going on. Sorry, we've been talking about gameplay a fair amount there. One of the other aspects I particularly like about Golden Sun is the soundtrack.
Yes.
And
yes,
like many RPGs, the soundtrack is more or less overlooked most of the time, because for many RPGs are like an interactive film in a way, so you kind of expect that epic soundtrack. When you really listen to RPG soundtracks, you realize that some of them are some of the best compositions ever. Nobuo Uematsu is a particularly good example. What's his name? Yuji Horii? Anyway, it doesn't matter. He did the Zelda soundtrack? Yuji Horii? Or am I getting my names
not sure.
I think he worked on... Doesn't matter. Anyway, Nobuo Uematsu is obviously one of the most famous video game soundtrack composers, particularly RPG soundtrack composers, particularly Final Fantasy, and his songs alone have drawn a huge fan base. Golden Sun is another example of like an epic, beautiful, glittering soundtrack, and I think Chelsea certainly agrees with me, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm gonna have to, because the soundtrack is one of the things that has resonated and stuck with me ever since I first started playing.
And that's the thing as well with modern games. Like, I think the last memorable soundtrack I remember is probably Oblivion, like the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Yep. Modern games just don't do it anymore, and it's a shame. Like the Nintendo 64 games, every game had a great soundtrack, including Game Boy Advance games, all up until even GameCube, and nobody does it anymore.
There's some modern games that have like these really memorable soundtracks, but you're right, there isn't too many.
Yeah, the majority
out
don't
there
really.
Left.
Yeah, it's just it's a sad state of affairs to me, because probably 70% of the experience for me is made up in a soundtrack, because that is what truly captivates you, and without a soundtrack you're kind of half in, half out.
A soundtrack sets the mood for the place you're in too. So like
exactly.
Going back to Golden Sun, it's particularly the song that plays when you go into the elemental star chamber in Soul Sanctum.
Yeah.
That like really sets off the whole
magical
mood of the place.
Yeah.
It's magic. And then like when it abruptly shifts, like the whole Soul Sanctum in general is just a magical place.
And it goes back to what I said earlier about how knowledge and the architecture of certain areas. Soul Sanctum is genuinely beautiful, and there's a sequence. We'll try not to spoil it here, but there's a sequence involving two rooms, one representing the sun, one representing the and there is a lovely glitter to that music in that sequence. The whole sequence, you got this. The whole sequence is the party of Isaac and Co. With this scholar of synergy and alchemic magic, who is very enthusiastic, and he's running back and forth the rooms, and this air of discovery and beauty and magic about the music. It reminds me of when I think about it, I don't know why, but it just makes me think of things like Neverending and things like not that the soundtracks are probably comparable, but it makes me think of like that brilliant era of early 80s, early 90s fantasy movies, where it was. Where visually they were arguably better. They were way more focused on they obviously tend to entertain kids, so they're way more magical. So when you hear this sort of music, it's quite nostalgic in a way. I feel like I'm playing a film that I watched as a kid. You know, it's not a good way to put it, but that's how I feel when I'm playing that game. When I'm playing Golden Sun, it really feels like I'm playing a childhood favorite movie.
Yeah.
I find the soundtrack in the whole world that magical. It's beautiful.
And that's also the thing for the time as well. It looked so kind of vibrant, and the only kind of thing that you can that really captivates it is that it's It's memorable, it's captivating. You can't really describe it any other way. Like, you can't really put it into words, I suppose you could say. So anybody who is interested in an RPG, go and play it. It's awesome.
Yeah, do it.
Do it.
I can't recommend it enough. You might have more trouble getting decently priced GBA, but I think if you went to find a copy of Golden Sun, I mean, you can get a cart only. It's not my style, I'll be honest with you. I'm very much a box, complete in box or nothing at all. But I've seen cart only copies go for about £10-12. So it's not a particularly hard game to come by. It's not particularly expensive either. So if you've got yourself a GBA tucked away in the attic space somewhere, or in a cupboard somewhere, dig it out, dust it off, and then find yourself a copy on eBay of Golden Sun and play it.
Usually you can find like Golden Sun with the second one as well, so you get both cartridges. Usually you can.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, you're spending a little more than £10 on a game that you'll easily sink a good 20 or 30 hours into easily. Yeah. So let's. I mean, I've already mentioned it myself, guys. What do you think of the actual art style of the game? Because I think it's particularly it stands out particularly. It's not. It's very unique to Golden Sun. I think I would recognize a Golden Sun screenshot from across the room.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you. It's just got something to it. Like, I can't explain what it is, but it's got something just so memorable about it.
I mean, for me, it's got kind of the Camelot feel, just because I've played other Camelot games. It's Camelot has their own unique art style, and it's like any game that you play of Camelot's is particularly gorgeous, even Mario Tennis, for instance. It looks like the whole story and everything in Mario Tennis was, for the Game Boy Advance, of course, was absolutely awesome to me. I still enjoy it to this day, and it's kind of magical, I suppose you would say.
No, I wouldn't even say it was kind of magical. I would say it was absolutely
very magical.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So one of the things I find, and I think Anthony referenced it a little bit a moment ago, and I think I did talk about it a little bit as well, but to go back to it a little bit, when I play Golden Sun, the characters and the world, when your character moves, there's certain animations, and I feel these are really important to games, and I think they're really overlooked. When a character's movement and the way they interact with a set of stairs, the way they go through a door, everything, all that is really, really important, I think, to gameplay. They're tiny little things.
Yeah.
But if every aspect of a character's movement is painstakingly perfect, and it is in case of Golden Sun, it really adds a lot to the gameplay. In terms of it feels more fun. I swear, sometimes I would just like watch the character. I would move the character, say Isaac. I would run him from left and right just to watch the animation, just to watch him skip along. They have this kind of jolly gait about them. It's kind of cartoonish. The game itself is very cartoonish. Nothing is visually realistic about Golden Sun. All the houses are giant, like really adorable. Kind of. There's very few sharp corners in Golden Sun.
Yeah.
It's all very soft and rounded. The only time you ever get sharp corners is in very important areas, like Soul Sanctum. Even that's still beautiful though. You got rigid archways and stuff like that, but it's still got these little tiny stoneworks and stone details and things like that still add to the cartoonish aspect. And I feel like that's was a purposeful thing as well. Every building, nothing has a sharp corner. It's all very rounded, very cottagey, very adorable, very, very cute. But it's not over the top. It's not chibi. I mean, for those who are familiar with the phrase chibi, the anime cartoon style where you basically have eyes with a tiny mouth and a little round head. It very is reminiscent of that, but and like disproportionate arms where the head is huge and the arms are tiny and the legs are tiny, like to the point where they all look like they have no knees or elbows. That kind of goofy anime style that is used very, very quite a lot. It's very reminiscent of that, but it's not overly. It's not eye-wateringly cute. It's just right. It's just perfect. It's not too childish. It's not too gritty. It's nice and in the middle. It'll appeal to as many people as possible, I think.
To reference Final Fantasy again a bit. Like, to me, Final Fantasy is a bit basic as far as it's very cut and paste. As like it's, you know, you got your quest, you go here, you go there. Whereas Golden Sun is more, it's more kind of characteristic, and it's more got a lot more character in it, and a lot more beauty, and there's a lot more effort that's been gone into it, I suppose you could say. Whereas a Final Fantasy game of the same kind of top-down feel, I've played quite a few top-down Final Fantasies, and I've not enjoyed any of them as much as what I've enjoyed this Golden Sun anyway, the first one.
I can kind of get that. I think the early Final Fantasies, although Final Fantasy IV favourite, the early Final Fantasies aren't very friendly. Visually too, they're quite harsh. They're not. There's very little. I mean, some people would argue differently, I'm sure. There's very little attention to, not attention to detail, there's very little attention to make the game visually appealing. It looks very good.
Yeah.
Looks very good, but there's no emphasis, there's not as much emphasis has been applied to any early Final Fantasy game, in my opinion, as much as it has been applied in Golden Sun. You can tell from the moment they, every single room, every single character, even something like a tree, just a beautiful little tree, you know, just this like nicely detailed round, like even the logs. There's a wonderful puzzle in the early game where you're pushing around these logs in order to create a kind of like a water bridge. There's something when you push them, you watch them roll. Every aspect, every animation is a joy to look at. It doesn't feel rigid. It doesn't feel sharp or awkward. It just is so friendly. I really just feel like I can't put it into good enough words to explain why I really appreciate and admire the style of Golden Sun and the animation.
They put a lot of detail into it. Like that's
So
the
much.
only way I could put it. The effort. You have to appreciate the effort they put into it.
Would you say there was a lot of love went into the art style?
Yeah,
Like a lot of passion went into it, definitely.
I definitely would. Yep.
Now I hate to push us along a little bit further because I could talk about that all day, but to move us along a little bit further because I don't want to too much. There are some negatives that I would agree with, and I think a lot of people, for a lot of people, I think these would be off-putting. Some feel that the story is a little bit cliche, and it kind of is. But then again, most RPGs kind of are. It's a big evil. No, it's an unassuming child or young person who starts a day like any other day, and something bad happens, which reveals that something even bad, much more bad. What was the word?
Much
more
worse?
terrible is going to happen. Yeah, thank you. Something much worse is about to happen. It's a precursor to a world-ending event, and it turns out that it really falls upon this child and his friends to save the world. That is pretty much the story of. To really be the bare bones of it.
Every single RPG ever.
Every adventure game, Zelda is a good example. In fact, the opening of Golden Sun is very reminiscent of Zelda in a way. Well, not really.
It sort of is.
Sort of is. It's really Isaac awakes in his bed by his mother, and she's telling him that something is going down. And it's a terrible event that I won't spoil it. Well, it's not a terrible event, but it's a potentially catastrophic event, and it's causing the whole town to freak out. And there are tons of games, the RPGs that start that way.
I mean,
some that are different as well.
I wouldn't call it a cliche story, just as far as when I first turned it on. I found it to be quite unique. Just a different. It's, as a general overview, it looks very cliche, but when you get deeper into it, it's quite deep, I suppose you could say.
I will say this though, I think. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go for it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, what I like when it comes to the story of Golden Sun, it doesn't push you along too fast. What it actually does quite a lot is there's a lot of establishing moments in Golden Sun, where when you're in the opening town, although something bad goes down, that is basically a good way to introduce you to the world of Golden Sun. You know, there's elements, there's magic, there's a special place that needs to be protected, etc. It establishes that. but it doesn't kick you out into the world.
Yeah.
You actually can wander around. The story progresses well, but it's not forced along in any way. It's what I'm trying to say here basically is that it's very well paced. But there's a lot of sort of exposition, and again, joy to control. A lovely world to explore. So you will talk to a bunch of characters. You will go into loads of buildings, and you will stick around in the immediate area quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And it establishes a lot in that opening area in Vale. This story is kind of like a great evil rises, and these bad guys trying to get a certain power, and you got to stop them. As far as that goes, that's cliche, but that's kind of what most RPGs kind of are, really, aren't they? Magic, evil magic versus good magic, kids versus evil demons, and whatever.
Yeah, but if it seems like that, like in the surface level, but if you look deeper on it, it's not actually that. And I'm not going to go too much into it because that's for the second episode of this Golden Sun series that we're planning. But it's really not that, and it looks cliche, and that might turn a lot of new players off. But stick with it, and you'll really love it. You'll really love the series as a whole.
Definitely.
Yeah, the should we say like rough synopsis is very cliche, but the book is not. If you know what I mean.
Definitely.
So the other negative I find that I see a lot is that there's an overabundance of dialogue.
I would say more so in the body animations, I suppose you could say, like shrugging,
a lot of walking around and going from character to character, and
head turning. It's just weird. It's random stuff.
The dialogue is a little bit too much, I will agree. I will say, rather. I think it's a little bit over the top, but it doesn't get to the point where you think, oh, come on, this is getting a bit silly now. There are sequences that are really long, like the sequence I mentioned earlier about the rooms related to the sun and the moon. That whole sequence is quite long, but it progresses enough to keep you interested. But it could be a lot quicker. It absolutely could. But it doesn't. At no point does it really feel like they're just doing it for the sake of doing it. It's not like, oh, we got an extra 24 megabits on this cartridge, guys. Let's squeeze some more dialogue in there. Let's get our money's worth.
All the dialogue has a purpose in the game. Like even if it doesn't seem like it. Yeah, there's just a lot of it.
I think it's
a lot of it, but there's a reason for it.
I think it's also reminiscent of Camelot games have very lengthy dialogue. Like once again, Mario Tennis for Game Boy Advance or Game Boy. The opening sequence of that goes on for like 5 minutes of just random talking about nothing.
Of all the types of games to have dialogue, I never thought a tennis game would have lore.
Well, Mario Tennis has an awesome story, funnily enough. But I think it's that's kind of Camelot's formula, I suppose you could say.
Yeah. I mean, a lot is strenuous in any way, or it never feels like they are really nailing the
they're
stories.
not going overboard.
Like they're going over everything over and over again just so you understand. Just because, let's face it, some people are idiots, but he doesn't really try to do that. He doesn't go over and over the same point just to make sure that you get the story right. You know what's happening. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, on to the next. Because there are some sequences that are, I'm not kidding, like 10 minutes. There are some sequences for a handheld game that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But at the same time, at no point. I mean, I was aware that the dialogue was going on a bit, but at no point, and even when I play through it now, I don't skip. You can skip the dialogue, of course. I don't actually skip the dialogue constantly. I'm not like they're pumping the A button trying to get the dialogue to move along so I can get back to like grinding or whatever. I'm actually reading it every single time I play it. He knows that it's a bit excessive, but it is good dialogue. It's good dialogue. There's just a lot of it, So yeah. So guys, we are running a bit long. Would you agree?
Yeah, a little bit. It's like it's almost 11 o'clock. It's almost 11 o'clock where I am, so.
we're coming up to about the 2-hour mark, I think. So next up we have a nice little quiz to test, see what Anthony's learned in his first 10 hours, and to see if Chelsea's really an expert, because some of these questions are quite tricky. Yeah. So, guys, just final thoughts on Golden Sun. I mean, I can say that you would definitely recommend it to anybody at all, even non-RPG players.
Yeah, definitely. It's an excellent game with it's excellent. It's a bit of a cliche story, but it's got excellent characters. They're all individual. It's got excellent like features that you don't really see in other RPGs, and the soundtrack and the visuals are they still stand up to modern day kind of things, even if they don't seem very modern.
Yeah, absolutely. Top 5 RPGs of all time for me.
Definitely.
And I know you've only played about 10 hours, but I know because you've not really finished it. So, but still, even though you've only played 10 hours, I would say that, could I say confidently that you would recommend it?
It fleshes it out perfectly. There's no excessive backtracking. It's got an awesome story. It's got awesome characters, and it's got great soundtrack as well. Highly recommend it. Like, I would probably, if I was reviewing it, I'd probably give it a 9.5, to be honest. It's near perfect for me.
Awesome.
I would totally agree with that. Yeah, as far as RPGs goes, in that sort of genre of games,
yes,
it's almost the perfect RPG.
Definitely.
And the aspects that are negatives are really not really all that negative, like the slightly cliche story, like the dialogue overabundance. Right, guys.
Quiz time.
Excellent.
And I'm going to flip a coin, which I misplaced. Here we go, guys. Right, so heads, Anthony starts. Tails, because you're the owner of Culture of Gaming, so it makes sense that you would be the head.
Sure.
Not that I'm saying you're a tail, Chelsea. I'm not trying to imply anything by that.
Wow.
Fair enough.
You're at the bottom of the ladder, you are. No. All right, here we go. All right, Anthony, I'm going to start with you.
No.
Heads it is. Now, if anything, I would say the starting first is better because they get progressively harder, in my opinion. I don't know. We'll see. All right, here we go. Let's start with a very, very easy one. Anthony, can you name all 4 of the elements, represented in the game?
Isn't it fire, water, wind, and... Or are we talking planets?
Planets,
okay.
No, the elements.
Elements. So fire, water, wind, and earth.
Yeah, there we go. 1-0 to the ant.
Cool. I got one right.
Chelsea.
Okay.
Actually, this one's... I don't know. I think this one's quite tricky.
Okay.
Let's see. During gameplay, the Jinn have 3 possible statuses. What are they called?
Oh my goodness.
Oh God, I've never really focused on the statuses.
That's what I thought. Yeah, you don't really pay attention to them too much.
So they've got set.
Yes.
They've got
recuperate,
set,
or what it is.
There's the.
I need all 3.
Set, summon.
Nope.
No, set, standby, and resting.
I'll give you that one.
Okay.
It's set, standby, and recovery.
Yeah, well, resting's the same thing.
Yeah, that's why I gave it to you. It's basically the same thing. Okay, cool. 1-1. Anthony.
Yep.
This kind of is what you were going to answer with the first, because it's more or less the same question. I think you know where I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
The 4 elements of Earth, Fire, Water, and Wind are represented by 4 planets of our solar system. Can you name all 4 of these planets?
It's Venus, Mars, Mercury, and what the heck's the 4th one? Pluto, isn't it?
No.
Oh no. Wait.
Which is
no.
Jupiter.
Oh, that's it.
It is Jupiter. I was going to give it to Chelsea to steal, but she got it right there.
Okay,
Excellent.
cool.
There we
Good
go.
job.
2-1 to Chelsea. All right, so Chelsea, you can go 2 ahead by getting this right, and I know you're going to get it right. So sorry, Ant.
Yeah, no worries. I knew I was going to lose.
Hero friends Isaac and Gareth. Garrett, rather. That's autocorrect, that is. Isaac and Garrett That's a mistranslation, I think. Isaac and Garrett hail from which village?
Vale.
No way.
It is 3-1 to the Chelsea. Oh, 3-1 to the Chelsea. Some football fans are loving that right now. In the opening scenes of Anthony, on to you. In the opening scenes of Golden Sun, and like many other games, our hero awakes during a terrible storm or some sort of event.
Yeah.
He soon discovers that a boulder is about to tumble down from a nearby mountain and will destroy the village. Spoiler alert, sorry guys. What is the name of this mountain?
Oh, it's the thing inside the mountain is Soul Sanctum, but I can't remember what the mountain's called. And I just played it. Oh my goodness, it's so bad. I told you I've got a bad memory.
Did you give up so you can pass it to Chelsea? Did you give up?
It's so close. Yeah, sure.
Have a guess. Have a guess.
It starts with an R, doesn't it? Mount R something, I think.
No.
Okay, cool. Bye.
Chelsea, do you want to steal?
Mount Aleph.
Yeah, there it is.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
So at this 5 question mark, Chelsea is winning 4-1, Anthony.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm surprised, to be quite frank. Anthony. Oh, wait, no.
Chelsea.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you're Chelsea.
Yeah.
How did I... Wait a second.
Because Chelsea stole my one.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, go back. Right, so, Chelsea. During the storm, a character manages to fall into a river and is found clinging on for life to a log, which is right in the path of the Mount Aleph boulder should it fall. Who is this character?
Felix.
It's Felix. She's running away with it now. Although there are 9 questions to come, so you can pull it back.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, your question. Near Mount Aleph, there stands the home of a somewhat eccentric scientist and friend of Isaac and Garrett, a man obsessed with science and alchemic studies. What is his name?
This is so bad. I've got such a bad memory. This is actually quite embarrassing.
It's alright, he's just one of the most integral characters in the plot.
Yeah. No idea.
No, Chelsea, do you want to steal?
Craden.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I always pronounce it Craden.
Craden, that's it.
Craden. Yeah, either one.
Alright, Chelsea.
Yep.
You're 6-1 up now, so you're really running away with it. And I know this one as well. Sorry, Ant.
Yeah, no worries.
What is the title given to individuals proficient in the use of alchemy and synergy?
Adept.
I know all of Chelsea's questions, but I don't know any of mine.
I'll be honest with you, Ant. I think this next one's a bit tricky. Although you've only recently played the first 10 hours, so you might actually know this. Although the name of this character that I'm about to ask a question about is only really referenced once, as far as I can recall.
Yeah.
But he is a very important character. Anyway, so the 4. This is kind of. I realized we were trying not to spoil stuff, and I'm realizing my questions are actually kind of spoiling things right now. So the 4 elemental stones are locked away beneath Mount Aleph. Soon it is revealed that the stones are guarded by a spherical, cyclopic being known as what?
The Watcher, isn't it?
No,
it's
you're close.
The guard? No.
But,
Gee.
he's probably referred to as that, but he has a name. Although it is a bit cliche.
Yeah.
A bit of a clue.
Okay, no idea.
Chelsea?
The wise one.
That was it. See, I was close with Watcher. I was going to say that.
You were close.
Crushing it, Chelsea. Alright, Anthony, there are 6 questions left. You're not going to pull this back, buddy. You're doing this for your pride now.
Yeah, sure. This is Chelsea's question, by the way.
So Chelsea, this one, I reckon this one's a bit tricky. Actually, this one's a bit of a trip up question.
Okay.
So in Golden Sun, I'm pretty sure I got this right as well. There are 3 lighthouses visited. Each have a name. Can you name all 3?
Mercury, Venus, and Barbie Lighthouse.
Oh, well done. That was one of the ones I thought you wouldn't get. Nice one. Yeah.
Barbie? Seriously? What?
It's Barbie, baby. I think it's Barbie. Barbie. It's certainly not baby. Baby would be it.
Yeah.
He's the guy that I referenced earlier, the guy that had the draft and was trapped in the
cave.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Anthony. I reckon you'll get this one.
Cool. I need some support.
you need some points, man, because you're 9-1 down.
I reckon.
So beneath the stone of Mount Aleph exists a complex of chambers that Isaac and Co. must travel through in order to reach the elemental stones and secure them. What is the name of this man-made complex?
Soul Sanctum.
Yay!
I got one right!
Okay, this is an interesting one. I wonder. This is a hard question in my opinion, because nobody really cares about the answer to this question. Because why would you? But it'd be interesting to see if you know. Chelsea, how many Jinn are there in Golden Sun? The first one. I need the exact number.
28. 28.
Jesus Christ, 28 it is. I really did expect you to get that one.
Because there's 7 for each element.
True.
Logic thinking.
There you go.
Oh, way to go. I didn't think about that aspect. All right. Anthony, you might get this one. I don't know. Villains, arguably villains, Saturos and Minari, are adepts at which particular elemental synergy?
Oh, what the heck?
I'll give you a clue here. They're both affinite. Is that the word? To the same element.
Yeah.
There we go. That gives you a 1 in 4 chance of guessing it, at least.
I think it's Venus, but I'm not too sure.
It's not. Chelsea, do you want to steal?
Mars.
It's Mars. See, I would argue that's a. I mean, Mars represents fire.
True.
Yeah. I
didn't even know they were like elemental with fire. I didn't even know that.
And I just realised for my next question, I need the actual Golden Sun wiki. So bear with me, guys.
Okay.
I meant to have this up already.
It may have actually been because I haven't fought them yet. That might be why I don't.
You have fought.
You have fought them briefly.
The mysterious strangers.
Yeah, but I mean.
And they totally
they
go overkill on you
Yeah.
and basically hit you with a massive volcano.
I guess
true.
you haven't really fought them in that.
Yeah. In a sense of fought.
You were beaten up by them.
I got abused.
You were bullied, basically.
Yeah, true.
All right. Chelsea.
Yep.
You actually might pull. Well, you could really get some points from this, because this is a 5-answer question.
Okay.
And I'll give you a point for each answer. So, Chelsea.
Yep.
Can you name 5 Jinn?
Flint. There's Forge, Fugu.
Yes.
There is
Flint and Forge. What was the other one?
the Flint, Forge, Fugu. I think. Fugu. I
Florentino?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's how you pronounce it.
Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Yep.
Fugu, yeah.
There is Mist, I think, and there is Blitz.
And that is all 5 points. So that's 16-2.
Oh, doing well.
So you can make this very respectable, Anthony, by getting all 5. You can't mention the ones that Chelsea have already mentioned, obviously. So you can make this a very, very respectable 16-7 if you manage to get all 5. So can you name all 5? Any 5?
No. Simple as that.
You guys can't think about it. The names are relative to the element.
Yeah,
So-
but I can't remember any of them.
Think of something that means fire, or goes related to fire, or related to water, or related to earth, sort of.
Well, you've already done Forge, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. No, I honestly don't know.
I made this very difficult for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you
Do
should
you know who my favourite one is?
Who?
Just because his name is so stupid. Waft.
Waft.
See, I've only got 5 Jinn, so I don't know any, and I only know the 5, that's the thing.
I mean, some of them have really bizarre names. You got like Gel, Salt, Meld, Steam, Flower, Mud.
There's one water one, or like Mercury one, which I can't remember the name of.
Aroma.
No,
But
not quite.
you literally, by the way, you have one who's just called Eddie. By the way,
Wait, really?
Yes.
one that actually has a regular dude name, which is Eddie.
Okay.
Yes, but
He's
there's a reason he's called Eddie, and it's got to do with small rivers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
And Balm, interesting. Mold, there's one called Mold. And Gasp. So, right, so at the end of that, nail-biting, neck and neck, battle of wits, and knowledge. You were destroyed, basically. In a way, I'm kind of glad, because in a way, I kind of expected this. So you done yourself proud there, Chelsea. You obviously know your stuff. So yeah, the final score was 16-2. And remember, of course, there will be a set of questions for Golden Sun, The Lost Age, for our next episode. There,
I look forward to it.
So you will be able to. So
I'll study up on the wiki.
All right.
No, put up the wiki. Get to studying.
Exactly.
And hopefully you can.
I might win by 15-3 this next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's wrap up. So, do you have anything upcoming? Do you have anything to plug at all? Anything you got coming up for the side? Or?
Nah, not really. Not for me.
Oh, all right, great. Moving on then. And I assume some sort of review of the Switch, maybe, or?
Well, I'm thinking about doing
a scathing review of the delivery company if they don't give it to you.
True. Yeah. I'm thinking about doing like an unboxing, maybe, but then again, lots of people have already done that, but you never know. I do have a review of Just Cause 4, actually, funnily enough. Just Cause 3 is already out. Just Cause 4, which will be either after it releases or before, depending on when we get the code. We are guaranteed to get a code, though, which should be awesome. We obviously have the top 25/50 weapons list that is upcoming, or maybe even 100, depending on how we go.
Yes.
Weapons list that's coming out, which will probably go out next week sometime, or probably next week, I'd say.
Arguing about weapons, that sounds really hostile, doesn't it? we organize a discussion in the Discord thread, the listeners. So as you can imagine, we're all we all have our affinities to certain special weapons from our childhood games. So, as always, these top 25s or top 50s, I think it's going to be, isn't it? These get particularly. No, I don't want to say heated. We were very respectful of each other, I think, but everyone has to bite their tongue quite a bit, I think, because we all know what number one is, but we all don't all have the same number one. So, yeah. True. Right. So the as for me, sorry, what would you, Chelsea? Did you say you have anything coming up?
No, not really.
All right, cool. All right, cool. You'll probably have another complete trouncing of Anthony in our next episode of Retro Rumble Podcast. You got that coming up. So Chelsea's gonna spot up as well, of course. She already knows her stuff, but Lost Age was the first one she played as well. So if anything, Anthony, it's gonna be harder for you for the second.
I remember Lost Age than I do of the original.
Exactly.
How many weeks do we have to prepare?
I will allow you at least a month of study.
Okay, cool.
No, it's well. I mean, our next episode's gonna be Friday, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Would that be? I mean, because our last episode was meant to be Friday, guys, but unfortunately, I can't actually remember what happened. But we couldn't go ahead. So, oh yes, I fell asleep.
Yeah.
I have a really comfy sofa, guys. You should see it. It's like one of those big ones you can sort of like curl up on. Anyway, so so next episode will be this Friday, 9 p.m. I believe.
Topic.
I haven't really organised it. The topic will be, of course, Golden Sun, The Lost Age, right?
Wait,
Are we
what?
Jump straight into it?
So I have 4 days to prepare.
I don't know. What do you reckon? 4 days is a lot, man. That's like 96 hours.
I got to play the game, man.
Yeah.
What about
96 hours? You can play it through at least 2 times.
How about we give him like 2 weeks at least?
All right. Okay. So the next topic of our next show. Actually, listeners, write into us. Whatever you want our next topic to be. Whoever writes in, as long as the topic is good. Frankly, you write in and say like the history of analog sticks or something like that. We're not going to do it. Or
Animal Crossing. No,
Bubsy 3D or something like that. We're not going to do it. Although I would love to do an episode dedicated to terrible games. That'd be cool. Anyway, so I think we might return to our movies podcast episode. We haven't got back to that yet. Part 3 is still waiting to happen. So the next episode after the next will be Golden Sun: The Lost Age, I think.
Cool.
So 2 weeks to prepare and play through Golden Sun: Lost Age a good couple of times on the first one if you want to, but I would recommend it. And they do try the Crossbone Isle hidden dungeon. I can't remember where it is, but
Yeah, I'm going to be playing solidly without doing anything else for like 96 or whatever.
Now, listeners, if you like your video game history, the history segment at the beginning of the show was just a taster of something I have coming up, and I have a dedicated video game history YouTube series that will eventually be done. It's kind of a work in progress right now, so I don't really have a scheduled date for it to come out. And you mentioned earlier, Anthony, that you might be doing a Switch unboxing. I might actually have a final reason to do an unboxing. Because come Thursday, I should get my hands on a very interesting console. Some hate it, some say it's underrated, and that is a complete in-box with a good couple of games, a Philips CDI, which collectors will know what I'm talking about. At least I know you guys don't appreciate it. I should get my hands on that, and also a Commodore 64 as well. So I'm going to do an unboxing of that at some point.
Awesome.
So guys, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch with yourself there, Anthony?
Probably through the site. I don't really do social media personally. I'm on the community Discord. I'm on the... I do all of the Facebook and Twitter stuff, and I don't, as I said, I don't really do social media myself. I don't even post to Facebook at all.
Fair enough. Discord is probably one of the best places, if not the best place to contact us directly. We're actually live and active there pretty much all the time.
Yep.
What about yourself, Chelsea? Aside from Discord, of course, any other particular place?
The one that you can mainly get in contact with me at this point is my Twitter, which is Chelsea _MCP 97 at Twitter. Duh.
Twitter.com.au? No.
Yeah, that one. That's me, and I'm just Cybugs everywhere else.
HTTPS:// Yeah. So the best place to follow me right now, I'd say, listeners, is the podcast does have a number of ways that you can follow the show and also contact ourselves as well. It's at Retro Rumble Pod on everything. Whether that be Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. If you want to follow myself, the best place really is to follow me on Instagram, because obviously, as I've already mentioned a couple of times, I'm a collector of video games, and I like to classic video games, and I like to post a lot of that stuff that I collect, including the Philips CDI that I'll eventually get at the end of the week. I post a lot of that stuff on my own Instagram, which is at level 80 Space Ninja. That's LVL80 Space Ninja, and that would be the best place to follow me. And once again, you can contact the site on the Facebook, join the Discord, jump onto the website, but all the links to all this stuff I'll include in the show notes anyway. So Chelsea, Ant, thanks for joining me.
No worries.
This was an awesome chat, and I'm glad you really like Golden Sun, Anthony, because I fully expected you to, so I'm glad you appreciate it. And of course, thanks for coming on board here, Chelsea, because you know your stuff. And hopefully you'll be able to make it for our Lost Age episode. Hopefully you can. We'll schedule it around your day, because I want another quiz. I want a quiz rematch. It'll be fun.
Cool.
So yeah, once again, listeners, thank you for joining us. Join us next week on the end of this week, on Friday. I'm not sure what the topic is, but do follow again on Facebook and Twitter, and that we'll post updates there. So we'll catch you guys next week.
All right.
Friday.
Enjoy.